right, welcome everyone once again to the Q Show. And today we have a very interesting topic ahead of us. And the title is When Giants Move Fast, Competing, Adapting, and Thriving Beside AI Titans. And I'll just give you more like a breakdown of what that means when giants move fast. Now, currently we have Meta, Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, OpenAI, and they are doing wonderful things with AI, doing a lot of great things and solving a lot of problems. And then you have to ask yourself, what problem can I then solve as a startup? What should I do? That can even if not to compete, that can make some money or that can thrive with beside all these AI giants, So what as a startup, what should you do? What should you how should you go about it? And that will be the center focus of the discussion today. So welcome, and I hope you enjoy listening.
Yeah, this topic is quite interesting because, how do you compete with big tech
Yep.
when they have like seemingly unlimited resources and you're just trying to get by, like as a startup, and you think you're working on this next thing that is going to blow up,
Next big
and
thing.
then the following week, OpenAI releases that same feature,
Yep.
and and then the people online will say, OpenAI has destroyed my business again. Like once there's a new release of ChatGPT, a new version, a new feature, like one single feature is another company's entire business. So how do we balance that? That's the focus for today.
Yes. Yes. So companies, startups usually and okay, let me date this back to when Amazon started. I mean, when Amazon not started, when it's was becoming viral, Uber was becoming viral, and what other platform? Yeah, let's just use those two examples. Amazon, Uber, and their business model was also more like they're connecting providers to consumers, basically. And from there, a lot of ideas spun up and people were so serious about it. And I'll use me, for example, as I had an idea of, okay, why don't we recommend this person to this person, specifically rent. At that time, Airbnb or what have you wasn't really big or wasn't really well known as of then. So why don't we recommend uh, tenants to landlord, landlord to tenants back in my university, my undergrad, that's bachelor's. So the business model that we actually thought about or that most people were going to think about was still surrounding a broader business model of connecting providers to consumers. Now, let's say, for example, let's say Uber, for example, actually claims or Uber eventually, I mean, right now Uber has released like Uber Eat and they are releasing more things like that. So Uber, for example, catch a glimpse of something like that, of connecting landlord to tenants, can easily deploy a product to just solve that problem. And that problem will basically become, or the business model or of the startup that pursues that will basically becomes, if they don't move fast, because basically become redundant. So my point in all of this is most startups usually find themselves as an offshoot of big titans in their early stages. And when I mean offshoot is they find their niche or they find a niche and they just try to develop that niche. And in developing that niche, some of them some of them go faster and are able to make a name for themselves, whereas some people slowly go and then before you know it, someone else will come take over the idea. So I've first like to state that in usually most startups business model is in a way similar to even the big titans. that we are talking about. And to give another example, OpenAI came out that you can ask LLM some questions, and then before you know it, a lot of people are actually having ideas. Oh, okay, we can do this and do that, and then their core business model is a person should be able to interact with an AI to get some answers, and that became their business model. Which then means that maybe some person working in OpenAI will just catch a glimpse. Okay, why can't we even use this AI for this? And then that's why you have different GPTs that you can even self-train yourself. And I think they forgotten what they're called, but you can literally have your own GPT that is fine-tuned to answer your own question. So startups that have a business model similar to big titans, first of all, I think they are the ones that should be more concerned. What was your take on that?
Yeah, I completely agree. One particular example that even pertains to us would be the study guide that
Mm,
most of these uh, Gen AI companies are currently implementing, is whereby you kind of have your own study buddy and you can customize it and generate content based on your own style of learning. So something like that, I think, could kill so many startups in the edutech area because people are thinking around that line. And then we have OpenAI and what's the name that Gemini from Google doing that same thing. So yeah, I mean, you kind of have to be smart. And I think Sam Altman also mentioned that whatever ideas you're building now should kind of take into consideration this fact and should build in that mindset of these models are going to get better. But I think one area where you might have an edge over big companies would be in terms of localization, uh, working with the local environment, which they might not be able to have access to. Another one would be in terms of bureaucracy, because these companies have a lot of bureaucracy. Like there's so many levels, which is why even Amazon had to lay off the 14,000 people because they have so many levels. So they don't move as fast as a startup would. So they're trying to cut off that uh, big load so they can move faster. So that's probably an advantage that startups have over this big tech. So there's still a little bit of hope, but then there are still like the challenges, like with the workflow automations that OpenAI released, which is kind of like direct competition to N8N and Zapier. So that's the current state that we have.
yeah, and to just add to that, I think one of the strengths of a startup is that I mean, you mentioned it, they are more in touch with customers. They understand the pain of a customer. So instead of building something, a model similar to OpenAI or any big titan, why don't they then use those model as a future in their startup? So instead of maybe having like maybe their business model just around building an AI answering some questions, and why don't they just make that a smaller future or a future of their own system, of their own business model, instead of basing their own system models from there? And I think it's from there that you can now be okay. I don't want to say, I wanted to say you cannot be rest assured that they will not come take over. But then I don't want to say rest assured because technology is growing fast. You can never be you cannot predict what's going to happen. So, but at least for a while, they can maybe be at peace while they try to also renovate. So I think that's an advantage of smaller companies, of startups, in which they are more in touch with um these with customers with real pain points or gains uh, or gains. And then another thing I would also say in that light is startups are quicker to make decisions, and you mentioned it about bureaucracy, and those decisions should also means that they move very fast. And to just give an example, you have an idea, of course you have to validate the idea, be sure that it's something that is not going to be taken over soon by a better model, by a better future of these big tech companies. So immediately you have those ideas. Instead of waiting around, sitting around, move fast, quickly make the decision, start building, deploy under some couple of months. Uh, Once you deploy, get customer onboarded, get people like grow very fast. And then as you are growing, as you've grown or as you're growing very fast in a very good upward trajectory, what you find out is that your exit strategy becomes easy because now instead of the big tech companies to now try to add what you're doing as a future to their already existing business, then they'll be like, oh, okay, instead of us adding, we're just going to acquire this startup. We're just going to buy it and integrate it into us. We don't have to bother about building it. So I think that's one of the advantages startups have. Quicker decisions. Quicker decisions means quicker movement, which can lead to exponential growth, which is what some big tech companies are looking for in a startup before acquiring them. So I think that's something startups should take note of. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Um, and now I sound like an AI. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah. Yeah, so like the big tech thing, like when I do some kind of mind map of what I think would become the eventuality is the big tech will probably just handle things like creating infrastructure.
Mm,
I don't I mean, it's their aim for the AI agents to be able to write the code, so they don't have to spend so much money on um, paying people to do that. But I feel, yeah, I mean, if they wanted to do it, it could be okay. We're going to handle the infrastructure. We're going to give you the API, and then everyone can just build around whatever we have, whatever model we have, and they shouldn't try to eat into other like verticals and say, okay, I want to open it and I want to release a social media app. I don't know how. And then that's where government regulations to come into play, kind of regulating some of these companies and making sure they're not becoming monopolies. Unless they want to place all of us on universal basic income. So so we don't have to do anything. We just receive money every month. But we've spoken about that in the previous episodes about how I don't think that's going to be a viable solution. So I actually see kind of like pushback government intervention from some of these companies and doing certain things.
So okay, I would like to also divert a little bit. You mentioned about government intervention, so I was just wondering how involved should governments be in companies? Because I feel that there are some times that government involvement, I mean, extreme government involvement, like especially when it comes to a lot of regulations, has a way of crippling and even crippling a company and even discouraging people that are even having it in their mind to, have a startup and build something great. So, um, yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think the government has a role in, I mean, an ideal government is a government of the people. So, it's because this AI, that AI, it's all about capitalism. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's about creating automations, creating robots, so you can reduce the cost and then make more profit, which pretty much only benefit the shareholders in a way. So what's going to happen to every other person? Which is why I mentioned government intervention, because I mean that's the only way you're going to have UBI, universal basic income. And like I've said before, I think we're. I mean, a lot of people, even in the AI world, to have alluded to this, like the growth is exponential and then we're moving way too fast, and there are certain things that we've actually not gotten right yet. The issue of poverty, the wage gap, inequality, and things like that. These are what me I believe would become even wider. Like it become even more prominent with AI and with the way the world currently works, where it's all about winner takes all, and it's a capitalist system. So that's why there's still need for some sort of regulation, and maybe that would slow down innovation, but I think bad innovation, I mean, there are innovations that are not exactly good that needs to be slowed down a bit, at least to figure certain things out. And even right now, there's a bit of bottleneck between the energy that we currently have access to, the energy and the demands of AI and compute and machines. And we're still, but currently, people are now realizing that, oh, I mean, we can always scale up the GPUs, but they found a bottleneck, which is power. How do we power all of this? And a very good example is, I think, a community in, I think, is it Texas or somewhere, uh, I'm not sure if it's Google. Yeah, I think it's Google. They wanted to just convert some farmland into a data center, and the community actually took them to court and won. They said, "No, you cannot set this up because people are going to lose their jobs from all of this. If you build this your data centers, you're going to consume all the water, you're going to take all the power, people will lose their farmlands. And Google can argue that, oh, we're going to create jobs, but we know you're not going to create jobs. You're going to use robots to do these things. So that's the pushback. Like that's what I see is going to happen. Is people are going to push back a lot on AI, particularly because of everything that has been happening for the past 3 years, where people keep losing their jobs, and we might even see like people revolting and destroying stuff because it's not benefiting them. So these are some of the things we need to check. The issue of power, like, okay, what's going to power this? Google is saying, oh, we're going to put it in space. We're going to put the data centers in space. We spoke about that, like when you're being hacked or there's an attack, like how do you unplug the power? If it's in space, how do you shut the rogue AI down if it's in space? So that's, I mean, I don't know if these people are not thinking about some of these challenges, because I think as tech people, we can be a little bit tunnel vision, very focused and narrow-minded on the task at hand, to not actually consider what if this could go horribly, and it's leaning closer to that. So that's why we still need some sort of regulation in that regards. Yeah.
So, looking at the ingredients needed, I mean, okay, government provides opportunities by some regulations for startups. So, how then, or what are like the ingredients that will be needed for a startup to be able to compete with this big tech? Is it even feasible? Is it even possible?
Yeah, so I would say no, it's not possible for you to compete, but there can be some kind of a symbiotic relationship where we all benefit from this is what I've spoken about before, localization, because startups would definitely be closer to the customers. I don't think OpenAI knows more about my immediate environment better than I do. So I think I can be we can be able to build solutions which is much more tailored to the realities on ground, like how some of these new ideas that are coming up, like meme generator, all of those things. They're not solving any problems for us in Africa, which is the point. Is they have no idea what they're solving for Africa. I don't even think anyone is creating solutions for Africa except Africans. So that's where I believe the opportunity comes from, is we being able to kind of build solutions that address our problems. And we know our problems better than any big tech, because even they themselves have had to leave the country. Like few years back, Microsoft left Nigeria. Twitter at one point to the left. So this is an opportunity for local companies to actually build local solutions that actually work for the people.
Yeah, you're right. Um, it's only Africans that are going to be thinking about Africans. Other countries, other continents won't be thinking about Africans. And to just like reemphasize that, and just to give an example now, is in the now there's Uber here, and I think there's something like that. There's Uber in the US, and there is I've forgotten his name. Boats, right?
Well,
Boats in
both in
Nigeria.
Nigeria.
Yes.
Yeah. There is Uber as well, but Bolt is like giving them a run for their money. So like they're
Oh,
competing really hard because they actually, that's it. They actually understand the market. It's a different market. Uh so yeah.
yeah. Actually, that that was like the what I was gonna say, which is, um, Nigerians' problem are different. I remember there was a model. I was gonna build a model for security. I mean, like security in terms of outreach of police and the likes, right? And I was actually gonna build it for like Nigeria, just more like a side project, right? For Nigerians. But one thing I soon discover was the fact that these models or some of these things that are here, they're not taking into account some things for they're not taking into account, for example, bad road, electricity, specific problems of a police. And it's only people that find themselves in that situation that know, okay, there's no electricity. What can we do? Internet, there's not always internet is pretty poor. So whatever model I'm developing should be offline, should be easily usable by someone offline. For example, there is no um power supply, constant power supply. So whatever model I'm building should be lightweight such that the energy consumption is extremely minimal. Even if it's installed on the phone, it's extremely minimal. So these are the things that only people that live in a place would understand. Like you talk to someone from the US and you tell them, oh, we don't have lights 24/7. The person will be like, huh? Like, what do you mean? They don't understand what it means. Mostly you talk to someone also from the US, let's say, um, in terms of security, be like, I just woke up 3 a.m. and I'm on the road. I don't care about whatever thing. So you build a model around, so whatever they are building around what they understand as a reality, which is completely different from Africans. It's completely different from us Africans. So whatever model we want to also build should solve our own local problem, should take into consideration the challenges, local challenges. Like you want to build maybe you want to do your own GPT, you want to build your own similar, maybe you want to do fine tune a GPT and just put it. Whenever you want to do that, you must make sure that it takes into consideration that there's not always network. So probably it's something you can easily download offline. And then, of course, you have to also take into the account that it has to be lightweight because I don't think anybody wants to install something like 20 gig and yeah, all in the name of they don't want to go online and install something worth of 20 gig. So you have to take that into account. I have to take also into account that even running the model offline should not consume so much power. And by the time you take all of these things into consideration, then you see that you'll be able to, at least in your own niche, in your own environment, you're gonna really thrive. Gonna thrive. And to just add to that before you comment. So um in in all of these, in building all of these, after taking all these constraints into consideration, then you find out that it is actually easier to even build what you have here in Africa. Let's say you start from Lagos, Nigeria, then you expand to Abuja, go to Port Harcourt, then before you know it, you are encompassing Nigeria. Then from Nigeria, you're able to solve some other West African countries' problem in that aspect, then you find out that eventually your growth becomes more and more till, for example, like Paystack, I think Stripe acquired them, right? Then you just notice that some big tech companies are more interested in actually acquiring your business. So I think that's a significant pathway that a startup can take to thrive in this day and time. Yeah.
Yeah. So like the ride sharing example, some people actually tried to you can negotiate with with the driver. And I don't know if in the US, can you take cash payment for Uber?
No.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if Uber now like had to change. I don't use Uber like as much as I use Bolt, and it's one of the reasons. Like you can select the cash option where you
Mm,
get to pay your driver. Like most people actually even prefer to use the cash option. They don't use the debit card option. So these are some of the little differences that you have to adjust. I mean, a business that understands that and deploys would be able to capture a little bit of the market share. So things like things like the Uber Eats didn't work in Nigeria. Nobody uses that. So some people kind of like had this idea to like build a separate idea based on that. Things like A Food, Child Deck, even Child Deck now is expanding to other African countries
mm, mm,
where you can order your food through some of these apps. And like I use it, like I've used it today, like the A Food and things like that. But Uber Eats started it, but it didn't work because number one, I think they used cars, but people who drive cars probably are not interested in helping you go buy food
yeah.
and go into all these very isolated
Remote. Yeah.
places, remote places. So they had to like switch to using bikes.
Hmm.
So they switch to using bikes. So like any random bike person can just register and then do the delivery. So that's kind of like the localization of a solution, which is where startups can plug into. And when you spoke about speed as well, that's what OPay is doing better than every other banking system. OPay. Some people even say, I never even had an OPay account. I never opened it, but someone just transferred money to my bank account, my phone number. And by the time I registered with that phone number, I saw the money inside my account. So that's the innovation.
Mm,
It's
mm.
different from the trade. Like someone outside of Nigeria is probably not thinking about that, thinking about doing stuff like that. But the thing is, the technology has always existed. We've always had mobile money. Even this traditional bank, they have mobile money, but it never worked
Mhm.
because it wasn't their own vertical. It's not part of uh, what they do. So that's where the opportunity stands.
Yeah. And I think also to just add to that, the pricing for a local business.
Yeah, yeah. OpenAI just found that out the hard way as well when they increased the price. OpenAI just found out that's why you now have a chat GPT Go. Like, okay, you increase the price. People will cancel it. Me too, I canceled it. I canceled my subscription because I didn't see a value in it. Now I don't subscribe to chat GPT because I just don't see a value in paying for something that will generate bad ideas for me. Like it's not accurate. So why would I pay for it? I'm paying $20 for something that would gaslight me. Oh, you're absolutely right. No, I don't want to pay $20 every month
So,
for that. Uh, even SpaceX also just found that out the hard way. A few months back, they just said, "Oh, we're increasing." They increased the fee by 25% or something. I think it was from 39,000. They increased it to like 50 something thousand.
mhm.
And we canceled our subscriptions. Now they're giving me 50% off for the next 2 years. I
Begging
said,
you to come back.
now you're even offering me something lesser than the one you, so you'll find out the hard way that this is not US.
Yes.
So that's going to be the reality for them. Like they'll find out that no, it's a completely different. And I fear that this will actually make some of these people pull out, which is what we're seeing. Companies exiting the African market
Mm-hmm.
because of when they find out that actually have very low purchasing power, and probably they're not going to be able to afford some of these things. But
Yeah.
I mean, we're not making any profits from them. But that's because you're using foreign talent, yeah,
Matrix.
to build something for Africa, right? And then you want to make your profit back, and then discover that you can actually make it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think of an example that I mean in this modern day, in this recent time, that was still able to grow while competing with others, while competing with big tech. And an example that is coming to my mind is Perplexity AI. So I don't know if that fits into what we are talking about.
What about perplexity? Are you talking about?
More like they just starting up, like were they a startup or they've been existing since for a while, or it was the advent of
Right. We
LLM.
can we can check. Pro- Probably they pivoted to something else. Let's see when was it founded? Okay, it's AI 2020. So I guess it was probably like a search engine idea. Probably they wanted to compete with Google.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I heard about them back then. I think they were trying to make context aware searches or something.
Okay. Next time you say okay, and then from there they just pivot to using AI, and then AI will always provide a context by basically searching online and giving you the link.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And
So so that's what I currently even use to get my news now. Like when I want to read news, because you just go to the tab for the news and it will just give you some of your interests and summarize it. So you don't have to read very long articles. You just put all the key
Key points.
points from whatever that news is about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it won't hallucinate references. I think that's one thing some AI does. I'm like, okay. So I always have this like prompt that okay, make sure you put reference to everything you tell me. Till one day I found out that the reference it put was absolutely wrong. And it
Yeah.
gave me like it gave me the paper, the name of the person, the title of the paper, the conference. But then well, I just knew that no, this doesn't seem correct, you know. I just like the have that hunch. So I copied the old reference, the old IEEE reference type of thing, pasted it on Google. No search. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe it's
Okay.
Google. Went to Google Scholar, pasted it there, nothing. I'm like, okay, maybe it's too long. Pasted the title, Google Scholar, nothing. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, during my masters, I use it to do like deep research. That's why I kind of like found out some of the gotchas of ChatGPT
Yeah.
is to try to generate just fake thing, and that's how I kind of group all those LLMs now. Like it depends on if you're looking to do something creative or you want
Mm-hmm.
to generate new ideas. ChatGPT is good for that. It knows how to generate stuff. But if you're looking for facts or something closer to facts, you probably want to use Gemini because of
Mm-hmm.
the indexing that Google does, and they already have access to all of this. So you probably want to use Gemini. And if you want to write code, you probably want to use Claude, one of the models. So
Yes.
they're kind of niches. Like if you want to do creative writing, you can use Grok because of the way it has access to Twitter. And so it's more human the way it writes.
Right. Right.
And yeah, so they all have different strengths and weaknesses. So like the ChatGPT now, it would what I would do is I would then copy all of the references and then take it to QBot to cross references with all the whatever they have in their repository before I can now, okay, this is an actual reference. And even at that, again, it can give you a reference list that is actually correct,
Mm-hmm.
but then you now say, okay, match whatever you're paraphrasing to what you've written. It has generated fake content. So even the reference can exist, but it didn't use it to generate what you want.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's not reliable for anything research.
Yeah.
ChatGPT isn't reliable for that.
It's still cooking up stuffs.
Yeah. So and then giving you references that have titles that match whatever. But by the time you go and read the abstract, you see that it has nothing to do with the answer it has giving you. So you can still trust it. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Ah, well, I guess in the long run, is human intelligence still wins for now.
Yeah.
For now.
And and, and that's why even in the news you can see some scientists are kind of like challenging people that to stop promising AGI. AGI is gonna come next year. Like, let's tone it down a bit
Mm,
before we
yeah.
start promising because it's people are starting to wake up and see that it's mostly marketing.
Yes.
Like these companies are just trying to market
Yeah.
they want to sell their GPUs, they want to sell their product. So they would just lie about some of these things. They'll create buzzwords that will get people, investors. Like you can see a lot of investors are even pulling out of some of these companies because they just don't understand. Even me myself, I don't know the direction of where things are going to go next year. So you can't just come and say, "Oh, this is what we're going to do. This is what's going to happen." You don't know. Nobody knows. So we don't know. Like the AI can wake up tomorrow and then start rewriting itself. Uh, so we don't
It
know.
better not. Else we are all in soup.
Yeah.
Especially if especially the people that has been maltreating AI, you know.
Yeah, I saw a meme that said, "Oh, leave this one. He always says thank you. Don't kill him." So, uh, yeah, I mean, there are even much more realistic threats that we saw this week already. Vibe hacking, like they use
Yeah.
the cloud to attack a bunch of
Hmm.
banks and companies.
Yes,
So
yes.
yeah, so it's not gonna be as smooth as people who are marketing it think it's going to
Mm.
be like. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you everyone for joining us on this wonderful show, the Q Show. And today you've learned how you as a startup can actually thrive in this age and time. Specifically, you've learned that whatever you're building needs locally. To rephrase that, make sure your problem is localized. Make sure you understand you are the one in touch with people around you. You are the one in touch with the pain points of the people around you. So whatever problem you are building, build it to solve that problem. And secondly, move fast. Speed is one of the major benefits of startups. So move fast, and whatever idea or whatever valid idea you have, move very fast and expand very fast so you can easily exit when the time comes. So thank you once again for joining us. You can follow us on all our social media, which will be linked in the bio. Thank you and see you next 2 weeks.